Good morning, everybody. And when I say everybody, I mean all two of you. Who's here? Happy Monday. It feels like a Monday. It feels like a legit Monday. Bleh. With the rain and everything. Yeah. So shout out who's here. Tell me who you are. Mr. Elster went to go change his shirt, but there he is.
Hello.
He's back. This is Mr. Elster's last, well, kind of his last week.
Yeah, I'm done on Wednesday. And I graduate on Friday,
Yeah.
and then I'll finish up talking about Monte Cristo with you on Monday.
Just because he loves it.
Yeah.
And
Ah, yeah.
hi, guys. Let's see. Who's that guy? Is that Jermaine? I know who Vivian is. I know who Kennedy is. I know who Lizeth and Ashley are. Hello, hello, hello. But I don't know who's that guy is.
Uh-oh. There we go. Hi, 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 hi.
Oh, yeah. Lots of highs this morning.
Yo, what up, fam?
Oh, this Monday is killing me.
For real.
I don't know. I've got senioritis or something.
You're telling me, man.
Well, yeah, you actually legitimately have senioritis.
Yeah.
I'm just like senior old age guys.
For
Or, my name is Erin.
Hi, Aaron. You want to learn about Monte Cristo?
Hi Theo. Hi Kennedy. How y'all been doing? You enjoying this? Well, I was gonna say the nice weather. Up until today, it's been nice. Friday was beautiful,
Yeah, Friday was awesome. I feel like I worked
but
outside a lot.
it made it really hard to um like want to do any schoolwork because it was so nice out.
Yep.
Oh, Aaron, I know who you are. You're not a freshman. Get out of here. Sometimes Bob Ross. You didn't even read this book. Silly. Okay, Bob Ross on Wednesday. What else have you guys been up to? I'm giving it a couple minutes for everybody to get logged in here and get. Oh, good. Chauncey's here. Speaking of
Hooray.
another who doesn't need to be here. Apparently, it's break time for Chauncey. I'm just sitting here talking to a computer screen. You'd think I'd be used to this by now,
Right?
but it's still bizarre to me. I'm trying to think of stuff to talk about.
Let's see.
Um,
There's now giant bees or something, I've heard.
really?
Something like there's uh like African bees are migrating to the United States or something and they bite really hard. Something weird.
Are they in Nebraska or other places?
I don't know. I haven't really looked too much into it. I just saw a picture of it on Twitter or something.
All right, cool.
Mondays are my
Mondays
Sundays.
are my Sundays. Oh, gotcha. I thought he had to work on Mondays, but I guess not. Oh, are y'all ready to talk about the Count of Monte Cristo in 2 minutes or so? Lots happened. Lots happened.
Mm,
And we are almost at the end of the book. We are almost at the end of the book.
for real.
There have been killer bees besides. There have been killer bees, but I don't know if there have been killer bees in the United States or not. I know you care about all your students, Farmer and Curtin, but how are you teachers holding up? Has anyone asked? Y'all okay? Yeah, I'm holding up okay. Thank you for asking, Chauncey. A lot of people have been asking. Um, I am just I'm feeling a little emotional because I don't get to say goodbye to my seniors. That's the hard part. Like I have all these senior letters to give out to kids and I don't have them. Like the letters are at school, so I can't even mail them out. And I don't get to do all my fun senior stuff with them.
Yeah.
But other than that, the first couple weeks were really difficult. I think those were the hardest weeks for me, just with all the confusion and not knowing what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. Um, but since that time, I kind so I don't mind it so much. It's just like summer in a way. Only I have some lessons during it.
Hmm.
So yeah. All right. It's 11:05. Shall we talk about
Let's
the
do
count?
it.
Or so in the book we started, if I remember correctly, were we at 3 no,
405.
405?
Yeah. 405 to 480.
5. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, when we last left, Abe Busoni had just bought the house next to the Villeforts and was working on the foundation.
Yeah. Dun dun
Ah.
dun.
I just for this section, uh I like when I was breaking it up, I left it at a very big cliffhanger. It's like we'll get to it at the
Yes,
end.
you did.
But
You did. I did not realize how big of a cliffhanger it
yeah,
was until I was reading it last night.
yeah,
Um, and I was like, "Oh man,
yeah.
that's harsh."
So I hope you were so excited you kept reading, but we won't talk about it.
Yeah. No, I can't. Not going to give it away. Not going to give it away.
Okay, so we start off. There's a party at the Danglers' house. They are celebrating. Uh, Eugenie and Andrea are signing their marriage contract to make it official. Their marriage. They have a big old party about it.
Yes, they do, and they put everything on display. It's very much like a bragging thing. Um, like her dowry gets put out on a table and all of the money that's going to be exchanged gets put on a table and everybody gets to see all of her jewelry and everything else. It's very bizarre, but it's basically to celebrate the couple, but really also to
Hmm.
show off.
And show the family and just like, hey, this is real, this is official, and we are very rich, and we want you to know about it.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to get married because that's what rich people
Hmm.
do and we're showing off and it's a social event with a business purpose. So there's an actual contract that is eventually signed. It's weird. It's kind of like what a wedding is. I mean, technically a wedding has a contract that is signed. It's not a contract so much as it is a marriage
Hmm.
license, but there is paperwork that is signed and you don't ever really see that um, what's going on behind the scenes, so to speak. But like when I have performed weddings before, I always have to pull the bride and groom, or the bride and bride, or the groom and groom aside, and after the wedding, and have them sign paperwork with the witnesses and other people. Um, so that I can send it into basically the county that they're in to get their marriage
Hmm.
legalized. Just a little side note for you guys who
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Like you can have the ceremony, but technically you're not like legally married without signing that piece of paper.
Yeah. Otherwise, what's the difference between having just a ceremony? just because you want to have a
Hmm.
ceremony. It's not legal until there's actual legal paperwork involved.
Yep, just take all the
But
love and romance out of it. It's just
yeah, it's a
yeah.
business contract. It's a business arrangement.
Um.
Uh,
Oh,
Go
so
ahead.
yeah, so they are Eugene's getting married. Um. And Monte Cristo shows up and he's like, "Yeah, sorry Vilfort couldn't be here, but I had to give him some evidence about that guy's murder." It just it
Oh,
just so happened to pop up. I can't believe it. So sorry about that. And then they start talking, and it's a letter for um,
the evidence that they found was the letter that um, was it Abbe Busoni had Cataros
mhm,
write before he died, basically indicating, implicating who Andrea Benedetto, whoever you want to call him,
mhm.
is,
And yeah,
right?
and Danglars knows Catarus, so like at the mentioning him, he gets all nervous. Uh, and this
Right.
letter, and then the cops show up looking for Andrea, who this whole time just like so like smart, I guess, just like he sees something going on and he just starts slipping out the door, just very
Yeah.
quietly, just like, oh, something bad's gonna happen, so I'm just gonna peace out.
Yeah, they start talking about this scene where he killed somebody, and he's like, "Ooh, I don't really want to be here when this discussion is happening. I have a bad feeling about
Hmm.
this, so I'm gonna go ahead and
Yep.
bounce."
Uh, and they say he escaped prison in Toulon, France, and I've been there. It's a nice little city.
Oh, well,
Uh, and he probably killed Catarus, and that's why the cops are looking for him. But they look around, he's gone, and dang, they,
yeah.
and then like, so all the guests leave, and Danglers talks to the cops, and we focus in on Eugenie and Luis are hanging out in Eugenie's room, and they are just like, dude, this is ridiculous. Two weddings, two uh or two engagements, two broken off. Like this is trash. Like my parents are dumb. They don't even care what I think. Like she says she despises all men because of these two events. Uh,
Yep.
and they're just like, yo, let's bounce, let's run away. This sucks. Uh,
And it sounds like they were gonna run away together
mm-hmm.
anyway, but they were going to wait until the night of the wedding, and then they were going to leave, so they basically move everything up.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, so that's what they do. They're going to make a living by being musicians. They're going to, I think Italy is their final destination, but going through Belgium to get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Think a little bit of Switzerland in there, just kind of taking the long
Hmm.
route.
Yeah, like that it really brought me back. That's what I wanted to do for a long time when I was a musician. Just like I'll just go travel for a while making music and just like we'll see how that goes. And then I didn't. It's a cool dream though, just like traveling and playing music.
Right, especially traveling through
Yeah, right.
Europe playing music.
Like I had a dream of like flying to Boston or something and then hitchhiking my way back to Nebraska. That was when I was
Yeah.
young.
Or reality
Yeah, right.
struck.
uh so they decide to leave that night. Eugenie dresses up like a man and cuts her hair and she pretends to be Louise's brother and they just bounce. They dip. I think they write a letter for Eugenie's parents, but other than that, it's just
Yeah.
see you later.
Yep, 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 and they take off so that they can go do what they wanna do. Um, Now the question comes up, are they in a romantic relationship? And in the time period that the book was written, they're not going to come right out and say yes they were or no they weren't. Well, they're not going to really discuss it. But there are some indicators, and everybody always asks, or were they dating? Were they in love with each other? There are a few indicators in here if you read closely. Um, in the two scenes that Louise and Eugenie are together that kind of make it sound like they might be in a relationship, but I can't say that
Hmm.
definitively because the book doesn't, at least the version that I've read, does not say that
Right.
definitively.
I think, yeah, I don't think Dumas would have come out and been like, and they were in love and going to get married in Belgium or anything. But yeah, I think it's highly implied, and um, they are. But yeah.
Yeah, they are too.
Um, all right, so after that, they leave, and we cut to Andrea escaping, and that's where it says like at the slightest bit of trouble, he was just inching his way out, and just like it's interesting to me that Dumas didn't make him like stupid. He's actually just like really
Yeah,
smart.
really, really
Yeah, really
smart.
smart, really cunning. Just like he steals the wedding jewels, just like knowing that he'll need it. So,
Yep.
um, and then his whole escape plan, just like he runs for a while, and then uh, he tells a he tells the cab driver he wants to catch up with his friends. They were in a green carriage, and
Hmm.
then it says because 9 out of 10 carriages back then were green, so everybody they passed and asked was just like, oh yeah, there's one right up there.
Yeah. Yeah, everything he did was very
Hmm.
calculated. Um, like he started off going one way, then he switched to a different way. So that, I mean, it was all just very calculated. And he had his plan of, like, once he did get to a hotel, he had his plan of leaving before dawn, but he
Yeah.
overslept.
So yeah,
And if he hadn't
probably would have been
overslept,
fine.
he could have gotten away.
Yeah. So yeah, and even then he oversleeps and he comes up with a plan like pretty lickety split. It doesn't really work, but like he
No,
writes
almost
yeah.
works for a second.
He writes that letter saying like, "Hey, sorry, I forgot my money, but here's this pin. It's worth 10 times as much as whatever." And then climbs out the chimney onto the roof.
But leaves the door open so it looks as if he left
Hmm.
in a hurry.
Yeah, but like that was pretty smart. And then it says like the cop, like he calls him like a brigadier. He wasn't satisfied by just one piece of evidence, so he keeps looking, and like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's why he gets caught because other people are also smart.
exactly. Well, and like potentially had he picked a different building to stay in, he might have gotten away with it, but he was in a building that was shorter than the one next door. And so the brigadier that was going through and looking out the windows as he was going up the levels would have eventually seen the rooftop of the building next door and seen
And got
Andrea hiding on the
yeah,
rooftop. So he's like, "Oh crap, I got to get out of here. So let me go down a different
yeah,
chimney."
and like it also says what's it called, the Bell in the Bottle Hotel. It was like the biggest, most popular hotel in that city, so of course they're gonna check it first. So
Oh,
like he's
yeah.
kind of dumb for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's like, okay, I need to get off the roof. I'm gonna go down another chimney, and the only one without smoke coming out of it. He slides on down and loses his grip and
And
just falls. Yeah,
what
yeah,
irony, what a coincidence.
just
It just happens to be the same hotel room
at.
where Eugenie and
Hmm.
Louise are.
So a guy falling down in their chimney wakes them up. They start screaming and ringing the alarm bell, and the cops come and he surrenders, and that's it.
Yeah, he almost gets away. They
Oh yeah.
almost help him get away too because like had the officer not looked through the keyhole at the right time, because this is one of those old-fashioned doors with, like, the old-fashioned keyholes that you could actually
Hmm.
look through. Had he not looked through the keyhole and seen him in the room, he might have gotten away because Eugenie and Louise were basically agreeing to let
Yeah, we'll
them,
hide him. We'll tell him whatever.
yeah, that it was a we accidentally pulled the alarm, blah, blah, blah. We were mistaken, blah,
Hmm.
blah, blah.
Oh,
But so he busted, and it's such just a dirtbag way on his way out, being taken away. He he basically has an underlying threat to Eugenie, and it's such a just a scheming, gross. I don't
yeah.
like
He
it.
said like, "Don't worry, I'll say hi to your parents for you" or something.
Yeah, did you have any messages you wanna give me to your
Yeah.
dad? And the way that he looks at her brings shame about the fact that she's dressed kind of as a man and that she's been busted in this situation, because when she leaves after that, she continues to run away, but when she leaves after that, she's no longer dressed as a man. She goes back to dressing as a woman because she's been shamed into dressing as a
Yeah.
woman by what he said, which it was just one more
Yeah.
little,
One dig this crappy guy can get at someone.
yeah. Even though he's going
Yeah.
down for murder, it let me go ahead and make somebody else's
Yeah.
life miserable real
I
fast.
want that's the kind of guy Andrea is, just like everybody he can make feel even like the littlest amount of bad, he will do it because he's just that kind of
Yes,
crappy
for sh
person. Hmm.
yeah. So, yeah, Max, the escape artist gets busted. He gets
All
caught.
right. So yeah, that's kind of where that one stops. Then we jump over to Valentine. Remember, she got poisoned. Now she's been laying in bed, getting better, resting, trying to make it up, and uh, Monte Cristo is sneaking into her room and protecting her and dumping out any poison that the person poisoning her is trying to give her. And it's like at night she wakes up, she thinks he's like a vision or something. And Monte Cristo's like, nah, dude, like someone's poisoning you. I've been protecting you. I haven't slept in 4 days. This really sucks, but you need to like pay attention and they're going to be coming in soon. So stay awake. Don't move. She'll probably kill you.
Notice that Monte Cristo gives her a little bit of the mysterious red
Mhm.
liquid that we've had in the book before, and he's like, "This will keep you conscious and alert and well enough so that you can actually pay attention to who it is that's been coming into your room at night, poisoning your water, poisoning your drink." So he's like, "You're gonna have to fake it, but drink this liquid and it will allow you to be alive enough to see who it is," because he basically, I feel like he needs to earn her trust a little bit, and she isn't entirely sure that it's not him poisoning her.
Mhm. Because yeah,
So she
a
needs to
creepy dude sneaking into your room. Like, what else are you gonna
yeah,
think?
totally normal, totally normal.
Yeah,
So until she actually sees this person messing with her drink, you
she's
know,
not gonna trust him all the way.
correct.
So that's what she does. She stays awake. She pretends to be asleep. Sees her stepmother coming in and putting like a narcotic in her drink, and she can't believe it. At one point, it says like she makes a noise or something, and the stepmother has a knife on her, and it would like stab her if she saw her seeing her.
Yeah, yeah. Like she's like, wait a minute. She makes like a little gasp or something, and she's like, oh." She's like, "Valentine, Valentine, Valentine,
Hmm.
are you awake? Are you awake?" And she's ready to stab her if Valentine makes a noise.
Yeah. So after she goes away, Count of Monte Cristo pops out. He tastes the poison. He's like, "Yeah, that's a narcotic that would have killed you, no doubt." Dumps it out, um, and then gives her a uh, like
Little
they yeah, a little pill. Like they talk about like what's gonna happen. He's like, "Yo, I'm gonna protect you. Don't worry about it. Even if you like what's he talks about her waking up in a tomb and just like even if you're asleep for a couple weeks, like don't worry about it, okay? It's
yeah. Super sketchy. Super sketchy. He's like, I promise that you're going to be okay. I'm going to take care of you. So don't panic if you wake up and you're in a coffin.
yeah.
Don't panic if you wake up and you're alone somewhere dark. And like, he's like, don't panic, don't panic, don't panic. And she's like, okay.
Yeah, whatever. Okay. So he gives her this pill, she takes it, and the next morning she's dead for all intents and purposes.
She pulled a Juliet.
Yeah, yeah, I was just thinking about that. Just like this whole semester is about young women faking their death in your class.
So, well, here's the thing. And Kennedy asked, wait, so is she not dead?
I mean, you can infer, I guess. Like, I don't think the Count of Monte Cristo was trying to kill her. So,
Yeah, like it doesn't come right out and say it at this point, but he promises her that she will live through this.
hmm
Uh, so
wait.
there, but at the same time, it doesn't it's so bizarre, and I want to talk more about it, and I can't
hmm
because of like what happens with Max and everything else, and I can't do that. But basically, from what everybody is seeing, she's dead. Now the question is she really dead? And that we will have to wait and see. But Juliet,
hmm
that's all I'm saying. Juliet.
I think up to this point, we've seen how Monte Cristo is just like all powerful, more or less, just like 99% a god. So, in him saying, yo, trust me, even if you wake up in a tomb, don't worry about it. I think it's, you can make the assumption that she's faking her death.
Well,
But we'll
she's not.
see. Yeah.
Yeah, she's not faking it, but it's being
Faked for her.
faked. Yeah, for her.
Monte Cristo faked her death.
Yeah, but he does totally seem to pull a Friar Lawrence.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, that is good job, Logan.
Yeah. So the next morning, everybody's freaking out, and
I
Ma-
got you good.
yeah, Max comes in and he's super upset. He actually like runs into the room, and Vilfort's like, "Yo, who are you?" And he's like,
Right?
"I'm her boyfriend."
We were gonna get married. He's
Yeah,
like, I don't even know who you are. Why are you in my
yeah,
house?
and yeah. Then Max runs away. He grabs Nortier and brings him into the room, and he's super upset too. The doctor shows up, Doctor Davernay.
Hmm.
Um, let's see, and Nordier, he makes it known that he knows who the murderer is. So he Nordier and Vilfort, they have like a private discussion while Max and the doctor wait outside. Um, and then they come back in. It's like half an hour later. Max and the doctor come back in, and they're like, "Yo, don't say anything. I'm gonna take care of this. Don't worry. Like justice will be served, because I'm the prosecutor. All right." Which
Yeah,
is
let me do my job. So hang on, be patient. Let me do my job.
which is pretty much right in line with what he said before of like, because what? How am I saying this? Because when like his mother-in-law died, he was like, "No, don't say anything. It'll ruin my reputation." Now
Yeah,
he's saying, "Don't say anything. I'll take care of it and maintain my reputation."
which is super sketchy.
Yeah,
Like, if you knew who killed somebody and you told the police, and the police were like, okay, We need a little bit of time before we arrest this person. Trust us, though, we're totally going to do it,
Yeah,
even though we were kind of supposed to do it a while ago. But
yeah. Just like, and this is so funny because it's just like, well, dude, what if she murders you now, like in the next couple days or whatever? Like, then what? But yeah,
yeah, like I don't know what he was thinking, like, if he thought that he wasn't going to be the next victim, if he wanted like, what was his thought process? I wish I knew. That's the one part of this book that I really wish they would have gone into a little bit more, like, why was he waiting? What was he waiting for?
yeah. Like, I
Like,
think,
we know why he ends up waiting.
mm-hmm. Because yeah, it's like his pride. He doesn't want to be seen as like he doesn't want to get dishonored or something, and that's like the most important thing to him.
Mhm.
But like, yeah,
So
you would
trying to
think,
come up with a plan or something to avoid being dishonored?
yeah, which I guess he kind of does, which we'll get to later. But like, uh, it's yeah, it's just ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many risks involved. I guess that's something like you suspend your disbelief, but like we haven't been shown that he has the power and control like Monte Cristo. So like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but anyways, that's what happens. And then uh Abe Busoni, he just so happens to know that there's been a death today, and he came over before anyone asked him just to come pray because a priest should always know uh, when something bad happens. I guess he says something like that.
Yeah. Well, there's a dead body, and so you don't want to leave the deceased by themselves. So a priest should be praying over this person, and just so happens there's a priest living next door.
Who'da thunk it? What a coinky dinker.
Mhm.
So yeah, Abe Busoni goes to pray, and he locks himself in the room with Nortier, and makes sure to lock all the doors. Uh, makes a point that he locked Madame de Villefort's door to the room.
Yep.
And then we leave that scene. And I think it's the next day, right? When Monte Cristo goes to see Danglars
Yep.
about his unlimited credit. Remember that Monte Cristo opened up a line of unlimited credit through Danglars, which just is like he can borrow any amount of money anytime he wants, with like no collateral because he's that trusted.
And he's
And
got that much sway
hmm
financially in different banks around the world.
hmm So he goes to Danglars and is just like, "Yo, I need 5 million. Let me have it." And to like maintain his financial reputation, he has to give it to him because he wants to keep appearing like he has a whole bunch of money, even though that $5 million was for the hospital who is coming to collect today.
Yeah. So, like, technically, he is supposed to have enough money to cover both the $5 million to the hospital and the $5 million to Monte Cristo, but he doesn't. He has $5 million, period. He doesn't have 10. So he has to kind of come up with a plan of how he's going to avoid this coming out publicly.
Yeah. Um, I think should we answer? That's a really good question, Kennedy.
Um,
Like,
that is a really good question. Okay, so Kennedy says, "Do you think Monte Cristo made Madame Villefort poison Valentine so Villefort would have to spill and get dishonored?" I don't know. I
well,
think
like
that he put the idea in her head to do the poisonings,
because he did when they were in Italy when he ran into him.
and the whole red liquid from the very beginning is,
hmm
1 or 2 drops is fine, but you
And
put more than that in there, it'll kill them, and they won't taste it. And Like he totally they talk about the fact that he sowed these seeds or these ideas. So it seems as if he
This seems super convoluted though, because like he didn't even care about Valentine until Max told him.
correct.
Was he hoping that Madame de Villefort was going to poison Villefort?
Well, what I don't know. Either way, he would have gotten what he wanted. He either wanted Villefort to be destroyed. Well, he wanted Villefort to be destroyed, so he could either be completely dishonored by having this murderer kill the whole family right under his nose.
Uh huh.
He would be dead along with the rest of the family. Either way,
Yeah.
either way, Monte Cristo would have gotten his revenge. And then when Max is like, "But I love Valentine," Monte Cristo has to go, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa,
Dang
whoa!
it. Yeah.
That changes everything. That
So
changes my plan."
I wonder, cause like I wonder if there's like something missing in this version or something to where it explains that more, because like that seems like a pretty big risk to take. And maybe we just missed something. Like Monte Cristo, so meticulous with everything. Why would he leave like this big hole of like, okay, well, either she's gonna kill him or she'll kill everyone else, and then I'll expose that. Like,
Oh, so Theo's got an interesting take. He's like, "I think he was going to wait and have all his family die, and then Edmund would kill him."
ah,
That's a possibility too. I hadn't thought about that.
yeah,
Yeah, let's be honest. No matter what happened, Monte Cristo was not letting Villefort off the hook.
right.
So I'm betting that he had backup plans for his backup plans.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it was just killing everybody, and somehow framing, he could have. I mean, he could have had a backup plan to frame Villefort for the murders himself. I mean, there's a million different things that could have happened. We just kind of have to
Yeah.
go along with this particular storyline.
Right. Huh. That's an interesting question, Kennedy, and an
Yeah.
interesting theory, Theo. Heck yeah. I forget where we were. To go get. Oh, we're talking about financial responsibility or
Oh yeah,
something.
we were talking about Danglars and how he was supposed to have $10 million on hand,
Hmm.
and he didn't. And so before he could get publicly um, humiliated for not having enough money to cover these these loans, he decides to take off.
Yep. And I think like it doesn't say it directly, but like his wife and Debray, because they have like been defrauding him pretty much, that's the reason he doesn't have uh the money to cover it, right? Or
I
that's
think
part
it's
of the
it's
reason.
part of the reason, but then also, the how we go back to that whole conversation that Danglars had with his wife, where he's like, your affair is costing me money
Hmm.
and things like that. So I think it's a combination of different scenarios. Basically, he's had a rough month or two,
Hmm.
and he's lost a lot of money, but he can't publicly put that out there as having lost all this money,
Because
or he is going to not be trusted as a banker, and he's going to lose his position and his power and his authority,
hmm.
uh, which he's worked pretty hard to get.
Yeah, that's like pretty much what happened in the Great Depression, right? Like everybody took all their money out and then the banks couldn't pay it back.
And everybody lost faith in the banks.
So yeah.
So if you as a banker if everybody loses faith in you as a banker and nobody banks with you, then you're going to go belly up.
Hmm.
And so before he could get publicly,
Humiliated, shamed, he decides he's going to leave. He's going to cut his ties, take his money, and run. And like it's like I'm not sure if he meant it, but it's just also like even more despicable that he's like leaving a hospital high and dry.
Right? I don't know that it was meant to be that way, it just happened that way, but
Yeah,
he's just that much of a jerk.
yeah. So, yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. But he even lies to him. He's like, "Yo, come back tomorrow. I'll have your money. Don't worry." But then he's just gone. See you later.
Yeah. Yeah, he's gone. He leaves a letter behind for his wife because just like, oh God, who else did this? Where they had to get a final dig in. Oh, Benedetto. Just like Benedetto, he's such an evil dude that he's got to get a couple last digs in with his wife.
Hmm.
Like he could have just up and left her, but
Yeah.
he's like, you were a cheating, lousy wife, but he talks about how when I first met you, you were no well, you had let's see, you had money but no reputation, and that's how I'm leaving you. You have money and no reputation. And he's just like just
just
all these little digs.
just twisting the knife. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Um. Well, should we stay on that then, and then jump to the hotel with Danglers and Debray?
Sure. Yeah, so let's skip and come back.
Okay. So yeah, we fast forward a little bit. I think it's the next day
I think
after
it is. Yeah.
Danglers left. We are in this like kind of sketchy hotel with like I love the way it just introduces this whole scene. It's just like the counter people don't even care, and he's always wearing a hat. No one knows who they are, and just we find out it's Debray and Danglars, Madame Danglars, and this is like where they meet to have an affair and discuss their financials. And after Monsieur Danglars left, they needed to have an emergency meeting to discuss how they're going to continue. And um,
But that's the thing. Mrs. Danglars wants to continue, and
Debray,
Debray's like,
nah,
"We're
dude.
good.
All right, we'll split our money, and you go your way, I'll go mine, whatever. We'll
And
call it
she's
good.
like, "What?
Yeah,
But
because
I'm available now."
it was just like that wasn't the point. I just wanted money.
Yeah, and she totally gets played.
Yeah. Oh,
She gets
geez.
played hard.
Yeah, and yeah, I think she's left with $1.5 million or
Yeah,
francs. So like
which
a
like not bad.
yeah, a pretty good size of money. And also in that same hotel, Albert and Mercedes, they were staying there as they figured out their plan to leave, which we find out Albert joined the army. He gives his signing up bonus to his mom so that she could get to Marseille to like just live there, collect that money Edmund left for her, and um, just continue living her life. And they're both really happy about it. Albert's like, I'm gonna go make a name for myself. I won't just be my dad's name. Like, I'm off to start my life. And like I left that scene with like a lot of hope and joy. Just like, yeah, these guys are gonna be okay. Like this is a nice way to do it.
But
Uh,
we're not done with them.
no, not done with them. And as they're leaving to go on their trip, they run into Debray, and they're all like, "Oh, wow, hey, what are you doing here? We used to be friends. Now I don't have any friends because I'm in the army." And da, 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 da.
Which I thought was a little bit
Yeah,
extreme.
for real. Like,
Oh, no, no, no. I've given up my whole old life, including all of my old
yeah.
friendships.
I actually knew some people like that. Like for while I was in the Navy, they were just like, yeah, I had to leave all my friends and stuff to make a better life for myself. So like, I kind of get it of
Yeah.
uh, like you need to cut ties with all the toxic people in your life, but like they weren't toxic, I guess, to
No.
Albert. um, and I really like this part. It's I thought I wrote the page number. I guess I didn't. But Debray in talking to Mercedes, sees that she's really happy. They don't have very much money, but they're off to start a new life. When contrasted with Madame Danglars with $1.5 million, and she is super unhappy, and just like the importance of attitude and how you view things can make a huge difference. Like this one lady's left with all the money in the world and is upset by it, upset at her huge loss, while the
Yeah.
other has no money and is excited about like the new adventure and how good her son's gonna do. Uh, yeah, I really
Yeah.
love that image.
It's page 461.
461.
Yeah, Debray's mind was a little inclined to poetic comparisons, but he could not help reflecting that the same hotel held two women, one of whom was rightfully dishonored, left with $1.5 million, while the other one, unjustly persecuted by fate, considered herself rich with just a few sows. I don't know how to pronounce that word.
That's how I've been saying it. But yeah. And it brought up like a word we learned in Romeo and Juliet, the foil of like characters who show completely opposite characteristics to really make those characteristics pop. And
Yep,
Mercedes and Madame Danglars, I think, are perfect foils for each other, at least in this instance. Of
absolutely. Well, and to a certain degree, Albert is a foil with, well, to a certain extent, not a perfect foil, but Albert and Debray are foils to each other into a certain degree. Um, Not as much, but dealing with the poor versus the rich and the happy versus the, you know,
mm-hmm.
still seeking happiness and whatnot.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I really like that. Just like all the characters in it. Yeah, I feel like you could go through and pick like each one and just like find foils for each one, just in like
Absolutely.
general foils, maybe not super specific, but like represents hope, like Albert,
Mm,
or uh not moving on, or being a total jerk in
yeah,
Debray, or yeah.
yeah.
um so yeah, and that scene ends with, it doesn't tell you, but it's Monte Cristo watching Albert and Mercedes leave, and he vows to restore their happiness. He's like real sad that he ruined their lives and is going to make it better.
Yep. He's like, I don't know how, but please let me find a way. It's kind of
Hmm.
like this little prayer.
Yeah. Uh, we got Dangler, Mercedes. Should we go back to Valentine?
Yeah.
All right.
Or is it Valentine that we're going back to?
Well, it's we skipped her funeral.
Oh, you're right.
So kind of Valentine, mostly Max. Um it's at this cemetery. I had to look it up because it sounded familiar, but it's like the most famous cemetery in the world.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's where like Jim Morrison's buried, like Voltaire, just like all the famous people that have died in Paris are buried there.
Huh.
Yeah. So they're at their funeral. Everybody's there, everybody's real sad, and Monte Cristo is watching Max because he's being real sketchy, and he follows him home and gets into his house. He's like still being real secretive about it, and he slips and breaks through the window in the door, and is just like, oh well, oops, my bad. Where
Yeah. I don't think that was a slip.
yeah, where Max is chilling in his room with his gun and is about to kill himself, and Monte Cristo loves him so much, he's like, nah, this ain't happening. And, like, I really love this scene because like that's what a good friend would do. They would break into your house to keep you from doing something like that, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever extremes were necessary, they are going to do.
Hmm.
They're not just going to be like, okay, well, if that's your choice, that's your choice.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
But what was also interesting about this is, part of how he convinces Max not to kill himself is he exposes his true identity
Hmm.
to Max.
Yep, he says, I'm saving you like I saved your dad when he was about to kill himself. Yeah, I'm the one who showed up with that sack full of diamonds. I'm the one who saved your whole family. And Max is like, oh, dang. And
You're Edmond Dantes.
yeah, and he calls Emmanuel and his sister Julie to come in and says, "Yeah, this is the guy. Oh my god, I can't believe it." And they're like, "Oh yeah,
What were they like?
I can't believe it." Oh yeah, it's so dope. Yeah, sacre bleu.
So blue.
Um, so to show how thankful he is, Max promises to stay alive for 1 month, and Monte Cristo agrees that if he's still unhappy at the end of that month, Monte Cristo will let him kill himself. Which I know I
Is
just said he's
not
a
what
really
good.
good friend, but like that's super toxic. Don't do that. Like
Let me make a bargain with you.
yeah,
If you don't do it for a couple weeks and you're still grieving in a couple weeks, then
I'll help you.
I'll help.
Like
I'll even give you the gun.
yeah. Like
Like, no.
yeah. Excuse me.
Bad friend, bad
Yeah.
friend.
But like knowing Monte Cristo how we do, you're like you have the reader has complete trust in him, but like on a realistic level, that's a super toxic and dangerous thing to do.
Yeah, and I wish we were at the end of the book so that we could really talk about this scene. I want to come back to
Hmm.
this scene next week once we finish the book and talk about this, and whether or not you guys like this.
Yeah, cuz yeah, that'll be a fun conversation.
Yeah, that I can't say anything more than that, but I
Yeah.
want to come back to it.
Um, so that's where we leave them. And then skipping back up, we have a short scene where Bertuccio visits Benedetto in prison or in jail while he's awaiting his trial.
Hmm.
And Benedetto thinks Monte Cristo is his dad and is like waiting on him to come save him, break him out of prison again because he thinks like he's really looking out for him. Because I mean, shoot, why wouldn't you? He just gave him a whole bunch of money and a new life, and uh,
Yep. And he thinks that even if it's not going to be a public situation, that I feel like Benedetto thinks he'll be able to extort money out of Monte Cristo or extort favors out of Monte Cristo, just
mhm,
like it was done to him by Cataros.
right,
I feel like he's just waiting for any opportunity he can to play whatever situation he needs to.
yeah. And so in their conversation, Petruccio's like, "Nah, he's not your dad, but I'll tell you who your dad is." And then is interrupted. He's like, "Okay, I'll come back tomorrow, whatever."
And this bothers me about the book. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong, but somewhere in this version of the book, they skip the part where Bertuccio comes back and tells him.
Yeah, because he doesn't. It's just like left out. Um,
But then all of a sudden,
ooh,
Ben knows.
right, because like it's like you assume he came back the next day, right?
Yeah. You have to assume he came back the next day, but they left that part out. But then when the trial is actually going on,
He.
that's when Benedetto, oh, I know who my dad is. I don't
Mhm.
know what my real name is, but I know who my dad is. I can tell you his name.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Even in the online version, like the actual unabridged one, I don't think it's um
Is clear.
right. It just like they get interrupted, and he's like, "Okay, I'll come back tomorrow," and then it just moves on, just uh like it do. I think maybe
Yeah.
like that's so strange because Dumas is like most of this book is so like theatrical and just like shows you everything, and then just like sometimes it's like nope, whatever,
Right?
you get it.
Because I love to see Benedetto's reaction finding out who his dad was.
Yeah, right. But I guess, I mean, maybe it's more fun to just imagine it of like, was he like, oh, tight, I'm gonna help ruin this dude's life? Because like in the court scene, he seems to be pretty enthusiastic about like,
Yeah, he's like, "Let me tell you who my dad
yeah,
is."
I'm gonna
Woo,
make it like that part's super theatrical too, and he's just like,
right?
oh, well, I did this. It was like, yeah. So, huh?
But it works out.
hmm
It
Um,
is super theatrical, though.
yeah. Um, so
Got to be.
getting to the court scene, we have Vilfort working. He's been working day and night, not sleeping very much, trying to like you could. He's probably in a lot of grief because his daughter just died, and that's a way he distracts himself. Um, Working on the Benedetto case, and he says this quote, and I think it's like a bit of foreshadowing somehow, like ironic foreshadowing. Because the line is, today the man who holds the sword of justice must strike wherever there is guilt. And uh, like in that, literally, he's talking about Benedetto and his wife because he knows his wife has been poisoning uh, people. But also, like, I guess knowing what happens now, like Benedetto holds the sword of justice and is gonna, yeah, he said,
the
ironic
guilty is going
foreshadowing.
to be
Yeah.
the guilty person is going to be punished. It's just Vilfort thinks the guilty individuals are different from himself. He's
Mhm.
not looking at himself introspectively like, "Oh, I did wrong.
Right.
I tried to kill my newly born child 20 years ago or
Right.
whatever."
That's something too. Like I'm sure he doesn't think about that every day. Like he's probably guiltless. And
Oh,
hmm. But before he heads off to the courtroom, he goes up to his wife and he's like, "Yo, I know you're poisoning everybody. I know that if I get you arrested, it'll bring shame and dishonor on all of us. So I need you to kill yourself. And if you don't, then I'll get you arrested."
like he flat out tells her, she's like, "What? You want me to kill myself, the mother of your child? You want your child to grow up without a mother?" And he's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, I
Because
do."
if you do that, uh, like, then nobody will tell on me that I knew what was up. My name won't get dragged through the mud as being married to a murderer. My reputation will be a-okay, and you'll have a quick death and not have to go to jail, not have a public execution. Like, see, it works out for everyone.
One of the things we have not, sorry to kind of
No, you good.
slightly change the subject. One of the things we have not talked about is why she was poisoning everybody.
Right.
We never, I mean, we have to kind of look back
Mhm.
and make sure that people understand, make sure that my students understand why she was poisoning everybody, because it doesn't necessarily make sense unless you put two and two together.
Mhm.
Um, and you have to think about inheritances. It's all about money.
Yeah.
It's all about money. And Valentine has a grandfather, Nortier, who's leaving his entire fortune to her
Which is why they were trying to. She was trying. Madame de Villefort was trying to kill him first.
first. Yep. But he was kind of less susceptible to the poisoning because he had already been ingesting some at times.
Oh, I mean, shoot. Even going back further, the Samorans,
Yep.
Villefort's original parents-in-law,
Mhm.
she killed them first so that they would leave all of their money to Villefort, who would then.
It wouldn't go to Villefort. It was going to Valentine.
Right, yeah.
And then, so basically, the St. Morans would leave all their money to Valentine, but then if Valentine dies, then it defers back to the
Yeah.
Villeforts, to Mr. Villefort.
Who would then leave it all to Edward.
Yes. So eventually, basically, what she was trying to do is get all this money to Edward,
Mm-hmm.
her child,
Her
because
legitimate
her
kid. Yeah.
child, yeah, her legitimate kid was not.
He didn't have an inheritance really.
No, he didn't have an inheritance coming through. All he would have had was the money that was coming from his dad, but when you consider the money that was coming to his sister from her various grandparents, if that money could have been included into the money that was coming from his dad, then it would have gone to Edward. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so you just got to make sure that you understand what do they say, motive.
Yeah.
That was her motive.
Mm-hmm.
It was all about money.
Lots of money for her kid. And
Yeah,
she didn't care about Valentine because Valentine wasn't her kid.
correct. And she didn't care about the St. Morans because they weren't her parents.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, there's a horn blowing in my neighborhood.
So yeah, that's the kind of complicated, I guess, reason behind all the poisonings.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, Villefort tells his wife, like, yo, take care of it or I'll take care of it for you. And then he heads off to the courthouse
Yep.
where Benedetto's trial is going on, and it's huge. It's a huge spectacle. Everybody who's anybody shows up. And Benedetto gets on the stage and they have this long, drawn out, super it's like a very scripted version of like Law and Order.
Oh,
Where
it's so extra. It's ridiculous.
but yeah, like Benedetto is just like I guess we've established that he's like pretty smart and cunning. So making this big ruse to expose Villefort is in character. uh and Benedetto says that he goes through the whole story about like, oh no, I don't know my name because my dad tried to bury me alive, and then he got stabbed by a Corsican. And the Corsican took me thinking I was money, and then they raised me out of the kindness of their heart because they were really great people. And my dad is that guy.
And everybody in the audience of this court trial is like, "What?
That's
What?"
not, yeah. And he's like, no, that can't be true. Do you have proof? He's like, yeah, I got proof. And Villefort stands up. He's like, yeah, you don't need proof. I did that. Sorry.
Yeah, Villefort is so shocked and taken back. He's like, "I can't even lie about it. Like,
You
I've
got
lost.
me.
I've like think about Villefort and what's going on with his life. He's lost his in-laws, his former in-laws. Um, his daughter has died. His wife has been the one killing them. Like he is so close to breaking and going over the edge, and then all of a sudden, here comes his illegitimate son that he thought he killed, and he's like, "Hey, Dad, I'm right here.
Yeah.
Like that's it. I'm done.
Okay.
Done."
I guess that's it.
And
Uh,
that's where we get off.
yeah. There's a while he's admitting it, he's like, he talks about the vengeance of God, and it's just like, yeah, God's finally mad at me, so like, there's nothing I can do, man.
He's like, "Yeah, I give. I
That's
give."
it. If I try and lie out of this, it's just gonna get worse. Like, all right, you win, whatever.
Yep.
So now, uh, yeah, Villefort's life is effectively ruined, and that's where we stopped.
And there's such a great cliffhanger because what in the world is happening at home right now? He told his wife to kill yourself before I come home from court or else.
Hmm.
And so, yeah.
Did anybody keep reading? Because keep it to yourself. I
Yeah,
did.
if you kept reading, do not. Does Edward get the whole fortune now that Valentine is supposed to be dead? Lizeth, so basically what would happen is it wouldn't go to Edward. It would all revert back to Villefort, and then eventually Villefort's going to die and it would go to Edward.
So yeah,
So it
like,
didn't go to him directly. So and that kind of is part of the master plan, I think, a little bit. Um, because it it doesn't make Mrs. Villefort look guilty, it makes Villefort look guilty of all these murders, because who's actually getting the money? Vilford is. It's the long-term end goal
Mm-hmm.
for Edward getting it. Okay, so here's the question, but will he get to go home? Yeah, I mean, that is the question. We can't answer that. What happens now? Is he going to get arrested? Is something going to happen? Is Monte Cristo going to step in? There's a million different things that can happen.
Yeah.
I'm not telling.
And like the chapter ends with like a reporter talking to someone, talking to a cop. Oh, it's Debray. Uh, he's like bribing a cop. He's
I don't remember that part.
Andrea left the courtroom, escorted by a cop who involuntarily showed him a certain respect. That's funny. Well, what do you think of that? Said Debray to the policeman as he slipped a 20-franc coin into his hand. There will be extenuating circumstances, replied the policeman, just like there's
Oh, yeah.
something else is going on. Like,
Yep, there's more to it. There's more to it. So, can't answer your question just yet,
mm-hmm.
Kennedy. You're going to have to read to find out the answer to that one. Tee-hee.
Oh, geez. A lot of points in this section about some of the themes, like powerlessness. Like everybody is like stripped of their power in this. Like Vilfort,
Yeah.
Danglers, like
The
um,
people who thought they had power, infinite power almost, get stripped of it.
Control and Fate. Uh, who's in control? Are you? Is everything random? Like not in this story because it's all planned out, but
But yet it's not, because Monte Cristo thinks he's in control of stuff, but then sometimes he's not, and things, like
mm-hmm.
for instance, the whole Valentine part. He thought he was in control of all of that, but
Yeah.
you know,
And
to it than that.
mercy and forgiveness. Um, I feel like there's parts where characters can be forgiven if they were sorry, but like no one really is.
It's hard to talk about mercy and forgiveness at this point in the
Mm-hmm.
book yet.
Right.
I think we still need to get to next week in order to examine if there's mercy and forgiveness, because in a book like this, you got to get to the end to
Mm-hmm.
see where the forgiveness really lies. I mean, that's kind of how stories end. Are things forgiven and forgotten? Is mercy given? Is punishment given? Like what? And you can't necessarily answer that until we get closer to the end.
Mm-hmm.
But you see little examples of mercy and forgiveness, or lack thereof,
Yeah.
throughout the story.
I think like it. Yeah, Monte Cristo seems to be all out of forgiveness. So
Yep.
heck yeah, I'm so stoked for you all to read the next 50 pages. Like I really liked this book as I was reading it, and then like yeah, the last 50 pages was like, yo, this is one of the best books I've ever read.
It's my book. I love this book.
Yeah.
So, yeah, any other questions that you guys may have about what you read or what's going on?
What can we do?
We don't have to really tell you what to read next, because you're just going to finish the book.
Yep.
So the book should be done by next week. Grades are done. Basically, what your grade is in the grade book as of right now is what you're getting for the report card for the end of the semester. I'm going to put those in tomorrow or Wednesday, and your grade will be done. So it's too late to do any makeup or redo assignments or anything else like that, um, at least as far as the calculated grade goes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were trying to like redo your Romeo and Juliet stuff, it's too late. But um, I know it's a little strange. There will still be some other activities that will be occurring over the course of the next couple weeks. But yeah, it is crazy that school is out next week. School's out for you guys, but then I have to go and like I have all sorts of meetings and stuff for the week. Yeah.
Mhm.
I have 42 hours of video conferencing that I have to complete in the 2 weeks following that.
Jeez.
Early summer vacation for you, but the reason why they gave you early summer vacation is so that they could give the teachers more
Work.
time to do these meetings.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So 42 hours of training.
Summer started last month.
Really, summer started 6 weeks
Oh,
ago
for real.
for most people.
But yeah, we'll be back next Monday for the last Monte Cristo Monday.
And technically, by next Monday, Mr. Elster will be a college graduate. Woo
I did
woo!
it. It only took me 10 years. 11? 11 years.
The next time I see you, you will be sophomore. Well, most of you will be sophomores.
Woo!
Just kidding. That was me.
Do you get to
I was
sleep?
gonna I was gonna say something like I was gonna be like everybody except for Max or something like that.
Do you get to sleep? Sometimes.
Yeah. I don't know who you is in this
Yeah.
question.
The
Me?
universal you.
The universal you. Yeah, I don't get to sleep, but you get to sleep. You don't have to do the training.
Yep.
But you have to start school earlier than I do next year. So, haha, sucker.
Me?
Yeah,
Why?
because you have a full 5 days of training as a first year teacher.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Well, that's okay, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's stuff that you'll use,
Yeah.
but still.
Yep.
Not freshmen are most. Yeah, for the trainings. Oh, you think I get to sleep through the trainings, or he gets to sleep because he doesn't have to do the trainings? I can't sleep in ever. Yeah, I stuck up at 5 a.m. Oh my gosh, even I don't get up at 5 a.m.
I'm about to go back to work my real job for the summer. So I'll be waking
Oh,
up at 7 again and then
I was going to ask you what your hours are going to be in the summer.
I still like I called my old boss. It was just like, "Hey man, do you need any help? Cuz I'm going to be done with school looking for a summer job." And he was like, "Well, why don't you come down and we'll figure out with what we can do for you." It's like, "All right."
Oh,
So like
nice.
I'm figuring I mean like knowing I guess my guess is probably 40 hours a week. And before it was like I would work 8 to 5, but like we'll see.
Hmm.
Yep, going to King.
Go into King. What's King's mascot?
The Wildcats. Meow.
And you're going to teach eighth grade?
Mhm.
There you go.
Oh, how it's 42 hours do you get to sleep in between because that's all what?
Oh, no. So it's there's 42 hours of seminars over the course of like a week and a half, or like, so it's not like 42 hours straight. So but like the reason why they gave you guys off that extra week is so that we have that week to do all those extra training sessions. I went there. Max really likes to type in all caps.
I don't know who Dr. C is, but okay. He's the best. All right, I'll say hi.
All right, kiddos. I'm gonna go be an adult and refinance my house officially today.
Woo!
Woo woo! And all the paperwork's gonna finally be done, and
Hooray.
I'll be done with all this stupid stress.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
All right, fam. Stay lit. Do
All
good.
right.
We'll see you
Talk
later.
soon, y'all. Bye.
Bye.